I've been carrying this around for a while, and honestly, I just need to get it out. If it helps even one person realize they aren't powerless in situations like this, it'll be worth it. A few years ago, I worked at a mid-sized company in a pretty competitive industry. It wasn't some tiny mom-and-pop shop, but it also wasn't a giant corporation like Amazon or Google. It was one of those places where people wore business casual, worked long hours, and pretended the free coffee and bagels made up for the fact that we were constantly under pressure to hit impossible goals. I had been there for about 6 years, and for most of that time I genuinely thought I'd retire there. My coworkers were more like friends than colleagues, and I liked the work enough to tolerate the stress. One of my closest friends at the company was a woman named Claire. She had been there almost as long as I had, but unlike me, she was much higher up in the food chain. She was a director, reporting directly to a VP named Mark. To say she was good at her job would be an understatement. She was the kind of person who could walk into a meeting where everyone was talking in circles, and in 10 minutes she'd break it all down into an actionable plan. She had this calm confidence that made people want to follow her lead. On top of that, she was genuinely kind. She was the type of boss who remembered people's birthdays and noticed when someone was struggling. Mark, her VP, was the opposite. If Claire was calm, he was chaotic. If Claire was thoughtful, he was impulsive. If Claire built people up, Mark tore them down. He was the kind of guy who thought yelling made him look strong, and he had this smug way of taking credit for other people's work. Everyone knew he didn't deserve the position he had, but because he played golf with the right executives and used all the right buzzwords, he kept moving up. The clash between Mark and Claire had been brewing for a while. He didn't like that she had the respect of the team. He didn't like that people went to her for answers instead of him. And I think he especially didn't like that she was a woman who wasn't afraid to push back when he tried to bulldoze through decisions. You could feel the tension in meetings. Claire would make a thoughtful suggestion. Mark would immediately dismiss it, and then 10 minutes later he'd repeat the same idea as if it were his own. It was maddening to watch. Then one day, seemingly out of nowhere, Claire was called into a meeting with HR and Mark. When she came out, she looked pale but composed. She walked past my desk, stopped for a moment, and said quietly, "They're letting me go." My stomach dropped. I asked her what happened, and she just shook her head. Later she told me Mark had claimed she wasn't aligned with the company's vision, and that her leadership style wasn't what they needed moving forward. Total nonsense. Everyone knew she was the backbone of that department. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just nodded through the meeting, gathered her things, and walked out with dignity. I'll never forget that image. It felt like watching a lioness being pushed out of her own territory by a hyena. But I also knew that Claire wasn't the type to just roll over. What happened after was nothing short of remarkable. Over the next few months, while I stayed stuck in that office under Mark's chaotic leadership, Claire was quietly building something new. She started consulting on the side, using her experience and her reputation in the industry. At first it was just small projects, but word spread quickly. People loved working with her because she actually listened, delivered results, and didn't treat clients like numbers on a spreadsheet. Within a year, she had built a consulting firm that started poaching clients directly from our company. The funny part was, these weren't just any clients. These were some of the biggest, most profitable accounts we had. I'd hear through the grapevine that so-and-so client had decided not to renew their contract with us, and then I'd later find out they had signed with Claire's firm. It was like watching someone surgically dismantle the company from the outside. Mark, of course, started panicking. His whole reputation was tied to the size of his portfolio, and now it was shrinking month after month. He tried everything, offering clients discounts, over-promising results, even smearing Claire behind closed doors. None of it worked. Clients trusted her more than they ever trusted him. Eventually, word got around that his vision wasn't delivering. The breaking point came about 18 months after Claire was fired. One of our largest clients, one that made up a huge chunk of revenue, announced they were leaving us for her firm. It was a devastating blow, and everyone in the company knew exactly why it happened. It wasn't just about service or pricing. It was about trust, and Claire had earned it in spades. Shortly after that, Mark was asked to pursue other opportunities, which is corporate speak for, get out before we kick you out. The same executives who once thought he was untouchable realized he had become a liability. Meanwhile, Claire's firm continued to grow. The last time I saw her, she had a team of about 20 people and was doing better than ever. Here's the part that sticks with me. When I asked her once how she managed to keep her cool through everything, she said, "Sometimes the best revenge is just proving them wrong by succeeding without them." She wasn't driven by bitterness. She didn't waste time trying to get back at Mark directly. She just focused on building something better, and in the process, she exposed him for the fraud he was. I still think about that a lot. About how easy it would have been for her to crumble after being blindsided like that, and about how she chose to rise instead. Watching her story unfold made me reevaluate my own life and career. It showed me that sometimes the door someone slams in your face ends up leading you to a much better room. To this day, the phrase that echoes in my head is that quiet moment when she walked past my desk, nodded, and said they were letting her go. At the time it felt like defeat. Now I see it as the calm before a storm that completely changed the game. She didn't just survive being fired. She built something stronger and in the process destroyed the guy who tried to bury her. And honestly, I can't think of a more fitting ending.